This is Bone Chillers to disturb your dreams. Dare to join us? Click subscribe, ring the bell. But remember, we cannot guarantee your safety from the nightmares that await. Prepare to be thrilled, chilled, and filled with a sense of dread you'll find nowhere else. Welcome to the darkness. We've been waiting.
Terror in the Tundra. God's ice sculptures, Carl mused, watching the Arctic dawn break over the crystalline glaciers. The isolation of their remote research station was formidable, yet the untouched beauty of the frozen tundra held a strange appeal. Their mission was mundane, extracting ice cores to study the Earth's climate history, until they chanced upon an unanticipated anomaly. A meter-wide cylinder of translucent blue ice, refracting the dim Arctic light in spectral glimmers, contained an enigmatic figure. Hovering in its icy prison, a creature of chilling terror was perfectly preserved. It had a milk-white body that reflected an eerie luminescence, 2 rows of needle-sharp teeth that hinted at predatory instincts, and bulbous glowing red eyes that held an otherworldly menace. Adorned in a spacesuit of an unknown material, the sight of it struck a bone-deep chill into the team. The alien's dormant presence created an undercurrent of fear within the station. Carl, an experienced biologist, convinced the team to thaw the being slowly, a delicate procedure aiming to preserve this scientific marvel. However, as the ice began to melt, the creature's eyes suddenly blinked open, casting a ghastly red glow around the lab. The effect was immediate and terrifying. The warmth in the station was sucked out, replaced by an unnatural sub-zero chill that instantly frosted their breaths and numbed their fingers. The alien was not merely a creature of the cold. It was a master manipulator of it. A shrill scream pierced the icy silence as Elsa, their geologist, became the first victim. She was caught in a blizzard originating from the alien, her body freezing solid within seconds, a horrified expression forever etched on her face. Panic ensued, but the Arctic creature was just getting started. One by one, team members fell, the station turning into a macabre gallery of human ice statues. Terrifyingly, the creature showed intelligence, isolating its victims by manipulating the environment and plunging different sections of the station into deadly cold. As the body count grew, hope dwindled. Carl knew they had to fight back. The creature might control the cold, but they were scientists, trained to think, adapt, and overcome. They began crafting a plan, studying the creature's patterns and behavior, and utilizing what they could in their limited Arctic environment. They noticed that the creature needed time to recharge after a significant temperature drop, and it appeared to avoid the station's greenhouse, a small heated dome that housed their food crops. Carl surmised that the greenhouse's consistently high temperatures were its weakness. The 3 remaining crew, Carl, physicist Dr. Lee, and engineer Roy, devised a desperate plan. Roy modified the station's heating system, creating a makeshift incendiary device capable of releasing a burst of extreme heat. However, it required manual activation and would take time to reach full potential, time they didn't have. As the alien moved relentlessly towards them, Carl made a decision. "Get to the greenhouse," he told Lee and Roy. "I'll lead it away, buy you some time." Lee protested, but Carl was firm. Handing over the makeshift device, he stepped into the icy corridors, offering himself to the cold. He barely felt the freezing tendrils creeping over him, his focus solely on the monstrous figure drawing near. Its eyes burned bright, a predator closing on its prey. But Carl held his ground. His sacrifice bought precious time, and as his vision blurred, he saw a brilliant flash. In the greenhouse, Lee and Roy activated the incendiary. A wave of heat surged through the station, the sudden temperature spike sending the creature into agonizing convulsions. Its red eyes dimmed as it collapsed, the milk-white body shriveling and desiccating. The alien threat neutralized, the survivors mourned their frozen companions. Carl's sacrifice had been essential, his frozen form bearing a noble, resigned expression, a haunting reminder of the terror they had faced. "Carl was right," Lee whispered, staring out into the icy tundra. "They're God's ice sculptures, all of them. and we're the living proof of their story. Rescue teams arrived days later, the harrowing tale of the Arctic station serving as a chilling warning. Humanity had always viewed the tundra as a harsh, hostile environment, but as they learned, there were far more terrifying entities lurking within the ice, waiting for the warmth of discovery to awaken.
Tunnels of London. I'm a historian, intrigued by the forgotten and lost. My latest pursuit led me to London, its underbelly woven with tunnels and secrets. As an explorer of these underground corridors, I've encountered artifacts, relics, and histories many wouldn't believe, but nothing could have prepared me for the tunnel men. Determined to decode their mystery, I delved deeper, further into London's bowels. My usual tools, a map of antiquated underground systems, a powerful flashlight and a notebook, my companions in the dank, silent labyrinth. It was late August when I began exploring a previously unknown network. An insidious cold permeated these tunnels, a stark contrast to the summer warmth above. An old newspaper clipping, the date faded, spoke of strange disappearances. People vanished as if swallowed by the city. A line at the bottom gave me chills. Beware the tunnel men. Whispers grew louder as I ventured further. The tunnel walls closed in on me, the path winding like a serpent's coil. My light played upon the walls where shadows flickered, grotesque and dancing. One evening I turned a corner and gasped. Figures crudely etched into the walls, hunched and twisted. The tunnel men. I traced their outlines, feeling the grooves and pits, the humanity in their deformity. That's when I heard it, the echoes of dragging feet, a guttural chant. The terror was visceral, a primal fear that choked me, but I was drawn towards it, hypnotized. I crept closer, heart pounding in my chest. The tunnel opened up into a vast chamber. My light illuminated a sight that froze my blood. Beings disfigured and gnarled, their skin a pallid hue against the dark. They moved with an eerie grace, their raspy voices blending into a haunting melody that reverberated off the stone walls. The tunnel men. They were a society untouched by time, an ancient community mutated by the darkness. I watched, hidden as they communicated, interacted. Every above-ground disappearance, I realized, was not an accident, but a perpetuation of their lineage. I couldn't tear my eyes away from a particular scene. One of them, larger, his features heavily distorted, cradled something. A human? No, not just any human, the missing child from last week's papers. The reality was horrifying, the implications even worse. The child was their newest recruit. I stumbled back, my horror echoing off the walls. Instantly all activity ceased. The silence was deafening. I held my breath, waiting. The largest one turned, its eyes a piercing white in the dark. It knew. And he wasn't alone. The eyes of the tunnel men glowed in the darkness, dozens of them, a chilling constellation. A predator and their prey. I was the trespasser, the invader. A guttural command echoed and they advanced. Terror lent me wings. I turned and fled, their haunting chorus in my ears, their echoes chasing me. I navigated the tunnels, fueled by pure adrenaline. I could hear them, their feet scraping the stones, their breaths ragged and excited. I emerged into the world of the living, gasping for breath. The moon shone down on me, the city noises distant yet comforting. I collapsed, my body shaking, the image of the child and the tunnel men etched into my mind. That night I fled London, leaving behind my pursuit of the unknown. The tunnels had revealed their secrets, and it was a knowledge too dreadful to bear. Now I write this account not as a warning but as a plea. Beware the tunnel men, for they are not mere stories. They exist in the shadows of London, a chilling reminder of the city's dark underbelly. Beware, for they are always watching, always waiting, and if you stray too far, you might just become a part of their forgotten world. The screamers. Every day I'd immerse myself in the symphony of sound, deciphering harmonies from hushed whispers and pulsating beats. As an audio engineer, my world was shaped by the unseen melodies that drifted through the air. Yet the day I first heard the screamers, everything changed. It was a Tuesday. I was mastering an album for a local indie band, a tedious process that involved filtering out any unnecessary sounds to achieve the purest audio. As I scrubbed through the tracks, an eerie, high-pitched wail shivered through the studio speakers. It was a screeching caterwaul, otherworldly, something no human could ever produce. I shrugged it off as an anomaly, a glitch in the software perhaps, but then it began to happen again and again on every recording I processed. Regardless of the audio, soothing jazz, kids' audiobooks, even political podcasts, that hair-raising scream seemed to be omnipresent. It was always at the same frequency, too high for normal human ears, but with my equipment I could hear it, the spectral siren wail that made my spine quiver. My curiosity peaked, and dread quickly followed suit. I isolated the sound, the torturous high-pitched scream, and began to analyze it. I spent days tweaking and adjusting, trying to decode the hidden message in this spectral frequency. The more I listened, the more I became entranced, obsessed with the screaming. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The screams dominated my every thought. It wasn't long before the screaming broke free from my studio. At first it was subtle, the murmur of the radio, the hum of the microwave, even the rustle of leaves carried a hint of the haunting sound. Then it became more pronounced. It bled into everything, echoing in each sound that reached my ears, the world sounding like a broken record that only played one heart-wrenching, high-pitched scream. I tried to escape. I traveled far away from civilization, away from the cacophony of life. But even there, amidst the silent woods, I heard them. The spectral beings, the screamers. They were everywhere, in every sound. My haven had become my hell. I consulted with experts, audiologists, paranormal investigators, anyone who might have an answer. But all were left perplexed. Even after I played them the recordings, they heard nothing, only the original audio. It was as though I was the only one who could hear the screamers. By the end of the month, my sanity was fraying at the edges. I was plagued by nightmares, waking up in a cold sweat, the high-pitched screams still ringing in my ears. The screamers were a part of me now. I had let them in. One evening I was in my studio, the screams echoing around me, a cacophonous chorus of unseen spectres. I was on the verge of a breakdown when something shifted. The screams began to harmonize, forming a chilling melody, a symphony of anguish. And then I understood. The screamers were not malevolent. They were not here to torment me. They were lost souls, trapped in an eternal echo, their pain forever imprinted in the frequencies of the world. They just wanted to be heard, to have their anguish acknowledged. The screamers were not the monsters, they were the victims. I have accepted my fate. I am the voice of the voiceless, the hearer of the unheard. I share their stories, spreading their spectral symphony to those who will listen. Perhaps one day their screams will fade, their torment finally come to an end. I've learned to live with the screams, to understand them. It's a haunting lullaby that accompanies me throughout my existence. I am no longer just an audio engineer. I am a listener, a medium for the spectral beings whose tormented cries exist in frequencies beyond the human range. So next time you listen to a recording, know that there might be more than what meets the ear. The screamers are out there, their screams carried on the wind, waiting for the next listener to tune in, and perhaps, just like me, you might start to hear the unheard.
Tales from the Night Driver. Stories from the asphalt jungle don't get scarier than this. After dark, when the city of angels sleeps and its underbelly awakens, I come alive. I'm an Uber driver. My name isn't important, call me the Night Driver. It started on a sweltering August night. The heat had given way to an eerie chill. An alert on my phone, a passenger request. Rider 0, it read, the pickup. A forgotten alley off Sunset Boulevard. When I arrived, there she was, cloaked in an odd ethereal glow. She was beautiful yet haunting. A white lace dress clung to her petite frame, an eerie contrast to her raven black hair. Her eyes sparkled emerald, full of mystery and melancholy. She climbed into the back seat, the car's interior cooling at her presence. "The observatory," she commanded, her voice a wispy echo. Our trips became a recurring nocturnal pattern. She would enter, silent as the grave, leaving only a cryptic prophecy behind. "A star will fall tomorrow," she'd murmur one night. The next day, news broke. A renowned Hollywood actor was found dead in his Beverly Hills mansion. Her predictions were never wrong, and as they played out with terrifying precision, I started fearing my nightly passenger. I felt the icy tendrils of dread every time the familiar Rider 0 flashed on my phone. One night she entered the car, her aura seemed darker. The observatory, our usual destination, was replaced by the Santa Monica Pier. Her voice trembled as she uttered, "Water will claim its due tonight." My sleep was haunted by images of tsunamis, of floods sweeping away everything. I woke up to the news of a water main break in downtown LA. The streets were rivers, people's lives washed away in its destructive path. Her prophecy, horrifyingly, was true once again. Despite my fear, I felt compelled to understand this spectral passenger. I tried researching, digging into LA's old lore, anything that could explain her existence. Yet, she remained an enigma, her presence confined to my car's back seat, her existence as elusive as her forewarnings. One evening, Rider Zero appeared again. This time, she was more forlorn. Her usual glow had dulled, her eyes were hollow. As we passed the luminescent LA skyline, she murmured, "Tonight, the city of angels weeps." My heart pounded. What horror was to unfold tonight? As I dropped her off at the deserted pier, her gaze met mine in the rearview mirror, holding a sorrow I'd never seen before. That night, a monstrous wildfire erupted, reducing a large portion of LA to cinders, its glow reflecting in the tears of its inhabitants. She didn't appear for a week after that, a week of respite from her ominous predictions. But when Rider Zero pinged again on my phone, my blood turned cold. I picked her up from her usual alley. Her eyes met mine, and I knew tonight was different. As the car hummed through the sleeping city, she finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "The night driver's journey ends tonight." I swerved, nearly crashing the car. Was this my prophecy? Was this the night I die? I felt a chilling certainty. As we approached the observatory, the car seemed to move on its own accord. She stepped out, turning to face me. "This is your last ride, night driver," she said, her voice laced with an odd mix of sadness and relief. My heart pounded as I sped down the desolate roads, every shadow a potential death. As the night wore on, the fear gave way to resignation. I was ready for the end. As dawn broke, the exhaustion consumed me. I returned home, my eyes heavy with sleep and acceptance. But as I closed my eyes, I awoke not in the afterlife, but in my bed, greeted by the bright LA sun. Her prophecy didn't come true. I was alive. And Rider Zero never pinged on my phone again. In the end, she had given me a gift. A second chance, freed from the endless nights of dread and prophecies. Her existence remained an unsolved mystery, but her legacy was clear. Every night as I walked the streets of the city I nearly left, I remember the Phantom Rider, a spectral reminder of the tales from my days as the night driver.
The Black Dog. My name's Mike. I'm a long-haul trucker, but lately I've become something else as well. A harbinger of death, courtesy of the Black Dog. That's what I call it. A hulking beast, materializing at the corner of my headlights, lurking in the shadows of America's loneliest highways. It started on a frigid night in North Dakota. The highway was slick with black ice, and the only lights for miles were my headlights. That's when I first saw it, a canine monstrosity, large as a bull, eyes that shimmered like moonlit pools of oil. As soon as it appeared, it vanished into the darkness, leaving behind nothing but the echo of a low, mournful howl. A mile down the road, I found the wreck. A car twisted into an unrecognizable hunk of metal. Skid marks leading off the icy road into a copse of bare trees. The first responders arrived in the morning, but they found no survivors. I didn't connect the dots then. Over the next few weeks, the Black Dog made frequent appearances. Always in the dead of night, always shortly before an accident. A tanker truck jackknifed in Tennessee. A family minivan rollover in Utah. All of them deadly. I tried to tell people, but who'd believe me? A trucker who sees a giant black dog before horrific accidents. So, I kept quiet and carried the burden myself. The loneliness, always a loyal friend, now turned into my worst enemy. One night, I found myself cruising through Arizona's barren deserts. The road stretched out before me, seemingly endless, like a snake that swallowed its own tail. I was pushing through my third Red Bull, chasing it with the bitter taste of regret. The CB radio crackled, breaking the suffocating silence, and then I saw it. There it was, a black silhouette against the indigo night, its eyes burning into mine. The Black Dog. I felt my skin prickle, my heart hammering against my chest as the radio squawked with an urgent message. 10 to 33 at mile marker 135. All units in proximity, please respond. I was approaching mile marker 134. My blood ran cold. I pushed the pedal to the metal, my truck roaring in protest. I had to get there. I had to prevent it this time. As I rounded the bend, my headlights cut through the darkness, revealing a station wagon stalled in the middle of the road, a family huddled inside. I honked my horn, frantically signaling them to move, but they looked up at me, paralyzed like deer in headlights. That's when I heard it, the thunderous roar of an 18-wheeler, fast approaching, its driver oblivious to the disaster waiting ahead. No time to think. I veered my truck onto the oncoming lane, flashing my lights wildly, hoping to catch the other trucker's attention. It worked, but too well. The trucker swerved to avoid me, heading straight for the station wagon. Then something miraculous happened. The black dog leaped from the shadows, standing between the oncoming truck and the stranded family. Its form seemed to solidify, becoming an immovable, inky mass. The trucker tried to swerve again, but hit the dog instead. There was an unholy sound, a mix of screeching metal and shattering glass, followed by a deafening silence. The truck lay on its side, few feet away from the station wagon, the driver stunned but alive. The black dog was nowhere to be seen. From that day, the black dog's appearances ceased. The accident stopped. For a long time, I pondered what happened. Did I dream it all up in my loneliness? Or was the black dog real, an omen or a guardian? I'm not sure. But every now and then, on deserted highways under the pall of the night, I catch a glint of something in my rearview mirror, a pair of eyes shimmering like moonlit pools of oil, watching over me, watching over us all. And I feel less alone.
Thank you for watching, and remember, the darkness awaits. Until our paths cross again, stay fearful and stay subscribed.